All right, so now I'm going to walk you through how to do seasonality. So beginning in D1, we're going to enter raw seasonals. And beginning in D4, this is equal to the sales divided by the moving average we calculated in the previous video. We will send that down and we're going to stop it with the last two because there's not enough information there. Because remember, with regards to this, those last two averages actually are not happening because it's not including any data. So we'll delete that as well. So the next step is to get our seasonals, we need to figure out what our seasons are. We're going to base that information off of the quarter. So we're going to highlight all of column B and insert, right click, insert a new row. This will be our quarters. To do that, we'll do the month function to pull the date. Since all these are happening every 3 months, I can divide it by 3. And let's change that to a number. And no decimal places. So there's our quarters. Double click with the black cross, send that down. So that gives us our seasons. We're now going to set up a table over to the side. So beginning in cell H, we'll have a quarter. We'll have a raw factor, raw factors, and then normalized factors. So our quarters are 1, 2, 3, 4. And to get our raw factors, we're going to use an average if function. So the range is going to be the quarter data beginning in B4 all the way to B30. We'll anchor that. Comma, criteria is the quarter, and H2, comma, the average range are the raw seasonals we just calculated. So highlight those and hit F4 to anchor those. So you should get about 0.937. I'm going to send that to 3 decimal places. Black cross to drag that down. And these should all add up to 4. So if I auto sum that, you can see that it doesn't. So what we need to do is we need to normalize it. How do we go about normalizing it? Okay. So in J2, we will type the following formula. So it's going to be equal to what we just did in I2 divided by the average of I2 to I5 anchored. And you can see it doesn't change all that much, but it's going to help us ensure that all the factors add up to 4. So there's not much difference, but typically you want to normalize to make sure whatever you're doing in this particular case is summing up to however many things you're doing. So if we only had like 3 seasons, then it should add up to 3. If we're doing months, it add up to 12, etc. So I'll hit auto sum here, and you can see that is indeed normalized now at 4. So that's a good check. Okay. So the last step is in column F, we'll have our seasonal index. To calculate this, we're going to use a VLOOKUP to help us get each of these seasonal indices for modification purposes. So we'll put in the following formula. So the seasonal index will be equal to the VLOOKUP function, the lookup table portion. Lookup value at first is going to be B4, so we're going to look up the quarter within the table, comma. The table array is from H2 to J5, and we're going to anchor that, so we can drag that down in a second. Then comma, and we're going to look for what's happening in the third column in this table to report back that normalized factor. So comma 3 in the parentheses and hit enter. And you can see that it's got the seasonal indexes pulling from that table. So I'll drag this down and you can see that it's pulling it for each of those. We don't need the last 2, so I'll delete that. And with these, let's make all these to 3 decimal places. So highlight the data and reduce the decimal place to 3 decimal places. So now we have our seasonal factors where we can then create additional models to see exactly uh, how to forecast Amazon sales. So the next one, we'll talk about irregularity in the data.